All right, so the other item I picked up at the flea market was I was going down the road there and I saw that this woman had this Fluke Model 73 digital voltmeter. Works fine, and the deal with this is that she only had 15 bucks on it, and I said, "Would you take 10?" And she said, "Yeah." So I took it for 10 bucks just to have another meter kicking around. So I've got now, this is my third Fluke DVM. No, my fourth Fluke DVM. So I don't really need another one. But hey, you know what? The only thing I found wrong with it was the lead had broken and somebody had just kind of twined it together. But hey, that's no big deal. I've already actually been using this. I've been playing around with the old Dynamics Research DRO. I started doing the video series on that. I haven't processed that video yet. I'm thinking I might just do a do-over on that with the new camera, just because there's a lot of little small stuff in there that wasn't coming out on video. Alright, so there's that, and then the last thing I got to show you is this is going to be more like a review. I was at Walmart last night looking at SD cards for the camera. Didn't find any deals there on camera on SD cards. They were sold out of a lot of them, and then they didn't have anything on sale. So I happened to go over to the LED lighting section, and I was looking at LED lights, and I found this. This is Walmart's Great Value LED brand. Don't know who makes it. Probably Chinese. This is supposedly equivalent to a 90 watt in light, and only uses 17 watts, and it's like a flood. It's non-dimmable, so you can't put this in a circuit where you dim it. But this little bulb right here costs $12.84 plus tax. LEDs have come down a lot in price. So I've decided I'm going to get one of these. It's funky looking, huh? I decided I'm going to get one of these, and I'm going to try and swap out one of my compact, or whatever you call it there, my fluorescent lights in the shop. Alright, so there's the Atlas lathe. That's where it's been sitting at. So you guys have been following the Atlas series will know that the last Atlas video that I posted showed me working over here on like this gear or whatever. And it was pretty damn pitiful. Part of the problem is, even though I actually moved this over a little bit, so I'm directly under one of the lights that I installed, the recessed lights that I installed here in the shop. But these lights are fluorescent lights. When you first turn them on, they're dim as heck. You have to warm up to get to full brightness. It's actually pretty cool down here in the basement because my basement's not heated. The only heat I have here in the basement is the radiant heat that's escaping from the plumbing system for the boiler and everything, and the radiant floor system. But I have a lot of sections here where I've now installed insulation, so that's a little bit cooler in those sections. So anyways, I thought, well, even with these lights, as bright as they are when you look at them, there's kind of like a ghostly haze that's, I can't explain it. It reminds me of when I was a little kid, and my brother woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go deep sea fishing because it was a long drive. And we went down, and I woke up and went down into the kitchen to eat my cereal, and that fluorescent light in the kitchen was on, and it was cool in the house because it was an old drafty farmhouse. And needless to say, everything between me being kind of like bleary-eyed from being so tired at that time in the morning and the fact that it was that fluorescent light that had just come on, it had that weird look to it. So these seem to have that weird look all the time. Either that or my eyes are just getting older, I don't know. So I figure, what the hell, let's see what happens if I can't do this with an incandescent. So this is just a compact fluorescent, one of those spiral compact fluorescents, and then they stick it inside this case to make it look like a nice downward facing flood. So this light here is probably actually designed for use outside. The GE version said right on it that it was an outdoor flood. Oh. Alright, so right off the bat, that's throwing a lot of light. But it's the color of the light that's different. So what I'm looking at now is It's got more like a regular incandescent light look to it, I think. I don't know how that's going to come out on camera. But anyways, so at least I can see a little bit better what I'm doing over here. So I just had the camera pretty far away from me, probably 10 feet away at least, maybe 15 feet away during that whole exchange. So I'm curious also about the audio on this camera. So now I'm maybe 5 feet away, and so I'm curious how the low light is affecting this. All right, well, I guess that I'm going to wrap this up here. Don't know if this will be a one-parter or a two-parter. Hopefully I can edit out enough of the boring stuff. And so from now on, I'll probably be shooting video with this camera. Hey guys, it's later the same evening that I was down here doing this Flea Market Finds series, and decided to come back down here and just do a little addendum to the calipers here. I had said earlier today that these calipers were much more expensive than these, and it turns out that I actually looked up online how much these were new, and you can still buy these today, and you can still buy the latest version of these today. They just come in a newer holder like this. Matter of fact, they come in this holder. We already figured that out. This is the 500-196. So this is the new box for this version of caliper. So anyways, turns out this particular model is only about $50 or $60 more new than this model here. So I was kind of surprised to see that. I'm still happy with my purchase on this. I checked on eBay. I checked on sold listings, previously sold listings on eBay, and I got an okay deal on these. Not a crazy runaway like dirt cheap. I mean, I didn't steal them. Same thing with these. These here, when I bought them, you know, I go to sell these on eBay now because of the missing thumb screw and the older style box that they're in. These are probably only going to bring about 35 or 40 bucks. So pretty much what I paid for it. But then once you pay PayPal fees and listing fees, I actually would lose a little bit. So I might just keep these as a spare. And matter of fact, what I'm going to do, because I know I'm going to use these, I'm going to take the battery out of these, because I did read that it's recommended that if you're going to be storing the calipers for any extended period of time of non-use, that it's best to remove the battery, because apparently this battery could leak and damage the contacts. And I'll put these away. And then I thought, well, if I transfer these to the newer style box, which is the correct box, and then just take this reference only sticker off, then I could maybe even get $5 more. The problem is, then I'd probably want to buy the correct box for these, and the correct box for these, you know, that's going to have a sticker on the side and everything. It would probably cost me like $30 just for the box from a Mitutoyo dealer. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think they sell it with the sticker on it. I think you can just buy the box for like 27, 28 bucks. So if you want another one of this style box, you can get it. And then what happened today is the other camera came in. So let me show you that. Alright, so here's the other camera that I purchased off of eBay. This I got for $37. This didn't come with, all it came with was the battery that's on it and this cable. And this cable apparently doubles as the USB cable to actually hook this up to a PC to download video. And then also it's the power cable. So I have to plug this into a USB port on my laptop to charge it for now. but it's a DC input right here, so it's just a matter of plugging this in here, and I plugged this in just in case, and then I plugged this into the laptop and started charging it because it was dead when it came in today. I've only had it on the charger for about 15 minutes, so I doubt it's going to come on. Lens looks good. I don't see any scratches there. A little bit of spotting maybe, but I don't think there's any discoloration that's going to show up on video. This is a JVC Everio, Everio. This is also supposedly a full HD model. This is even smaller than that red one, that Samsung I had. I can't get over how small this thing is. The other thing too is kind of neat. It's got 2 SD card slots. So it looks like you could, if this supports 32 gig cards, I doubt it supports 64. A lot of these older cameras aren't going to support 64 gig cards, but if it supports 232 gigs, you could have 64 gig on board, which is kind of neat. It's got the flip out LCD, reversible, so I can, oh, it's coming on. Alright, so I guess the battery is charged enough. But I already, while I had it on the cable over there, I was playing around with it, and it looks like it's got pretty good, it's all touch screen, so I think this might be a nice little camera. So we'll have to shoot some video with this at some point. Insert SD card to slot A. Yeah, basically it's telling you can't do anything. I don't know if it doesn't have any internal memory, or if it just has such a small amount of internal memory that you can't shoot video with it. I bet you it doesn't even have any internal memory because it's got the 2 card slots. So that's kind of neat. This is a 40 power optical zoom, a little bit more than the Nikon I showed you that I'm shooting with right now. But it looks like Steve Watroba's YouTube channel is going to be HD, much to the delight of several of my viewers and myself also. I mean, lots of times when I'm editing video and I'm just looking at like a close-up shot of me doing something and I look at how grainy it is, I just think to myself, God, that's awful, you know, and I almost sometimes feel like I'm just wasting my time with some of those videos. But a lot of those videos end up being parts of a series, you know. They're part number 54 of me working on the Vernon lathe or something. So it's like I don't want to just throw all that in the trash and say, well, forget it, we just won't show that. So alright, I got one other sale item. This is a Craigslist find that I forgot about earlier today. Alright, so here's the other Craigslist, here's the other tool buy I made recently. This is off of Craigslist, and this is a little Delta combination 1-inch belt and 5-inch disc sander. And I had thought that at some point I might want to get myself a 1-inch belt sander. And what's nice about a 1-inch belt sander is if you want to sand something, and what tends to happen is if you have a regular belt sander and it's got the big flat piece behind it that supports the back of the belt called the platen, I think it's called. What tends to happen is when you're sanding something, like you're sanding a corner, it'll flatten the corner. So if you have on these 1-inch belt sanders, they're actually designed to be able to give. So you can actually take off this little metal thing that acts as the platen here on this thing, okay, and you can actually kind of sand and have a lot more flexibility. So if you want to round an edge, if you're sanding something that's got rounded edges and you don't want to flatten those rounded corners, at least that's my understanding of why these are so sought after. Only typically the ones that you tend to see that are really sought after have a really long pulley system. They got a really long belt, so that you have a lot more flexibility here. So this might not really be able to do what I was thinking of. But this came up on Craigslist for $50, and I had checked and seen what these go for, and they typically trade for $60 to $100. So I thought $50 was pretty reasonable. And on top of that, because I wasn't really in the market for one necessarily, I figured, hey, it had been on for over a week, and I figured if he still had it, maybe he'd be willing to take $40, and that's exactly what he did. So I bought this for $40, and we had an agreement that I would just go to the house and leave the money under the mat. He left the thing out on the back porch and said, take a look at it if you want it, put the $40 under the mat, and we're good to go. So that's what I ended up doing. But when I got there, I actually plugged it into an outdoor outlet on the house and ran it because I wanted to hear it. And it sounded really noisy to me. And so I initially was a little concerned because I had also read where sometimes the you can have bad bearings on these things and the motor and everything, and then it ends up being a whole nightmare. And you if that ends up being the case, you're going to wish you didn't buy it. So I thought it sounded really noisy, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to really sound like. But then what I did was I took the belt off, and when I took the belt off and I ran it, it actually sounded really good and nice and smooth. So then I realized that the bearing noise, if it is bearing noise that I'm listening to that sounds excessive, it's not in the good news is it's not in the motor. Inside here you can see there's all caked up sawdust that needs to be cleaned out. So you've got this big pulley here that the belt rides on that's directly on the motor. So when I turn it on, that's spinning and doesn't make any noise. But you've got these two idlers here, and there are bearings, I think, in these idlers. They don't have excessive free play by the feel of it. That seems acceptable. But I think this one here seems to be where all the noise is coming from. So I think I might want to maybe investigate if there's a bearing in here that can be replaced, and just replace that bearing, and then I think it'll be fine. So I'll run it for you with the belt off, and then I'll run it with the belt on. You can hear what I'm talking about. So other than just some vibration noise, nothing really bad going on there. I'm going to back my new camera up because there's too much dust coming out of this thing. So, since I moved the camera away, let me show you again how loud it is this way. Now, throw the belt back on it. Okay, there's an arrow on the belt, so I want to make sure that that's... These pulleys have a crown to them, so the belt should want to stay on, even with this guard off. You can hear that noise in there. I don't think that's normal. So that's going to need a little bit of attention, and I'm in no hurry to work on that because that's going to be just an extra sander to put over by my other sander. So my big Rockwell is the one I'm going to focus on fixing next. Oh, one other thing. This did actually come with the owner's manual, which is nice, and it talks about that this can be used for metal or wood. So I could get an aluminum oxide belt and disc to put on here. And the other thing that's nice about this is that, as with many of these Delta owner's manuals, there's a complete parts breakdown somewhere in here. Oh, so the only thing that I see that I'm missing, I thought there was a parts breakdown in here. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I stand corrected. Well, this is actually the parts breakdown's available online through I think through the Sears website, among other places. So what's missing is the miter gauge. There's a little miter gauge that goes in this slot here, but it's just a little plastic piece of junk anyways.